This is the Town of Woodbridge regular monthly Board of Finance meeting for Thursday, July 21st, 2016. And the first item on the agenda is public comments. I don't see anybody. No, so. Second is our new Woodbridge Superintendent, Bob Gilbert. Bob, would you like to come forward?
Thanks very much. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here and meet all of you tonight. And I'm on week 3 here, and I am just ecstatic about being here in Woodbridge. I wanted to just do a couple moments of just who am I. You may have read that already, but I'll just kind of reinforce that and kind of tie it into my transition in for the last 3 weeks, and then just kind of reaffirm and confirm what some of our financials have been for the past year as well as going forward. I came from the town of Granby. I was working there for 22 years as an administrator, and Granby's a very similar town to Woodbridge, and the kind of support that is there from parents, from the boards working very closely together. I've already gotten that sense, and also that confirmation of how finance and education and selectmen work together here in a very closely knit way. So that's great, and that's something I'm used to from my past. I had a great transition first week here. Guy stayed on for a week, and I appreciated that from the Board of Education in making that happen. But we had a great opportunity to really transition and really be able to, as he would say, hand in glove transition, and I would say just providing everything possible for information for me to get started. And so he's now departed, and he's enjoying a great retirement, and I'm here enjoying being here in Woodbridge. I've met a lot of parents, a lot of staff members, even though it's summer, and I've been out on the town green, and I've set up some get-to-know-you sessions for parents and kids to get to know me and for me to get to know them. So for me, that's all working out great. I've had a chance to sit down with some of you, Matt and Tony, obviously, and it's been wonderful to do that, and we'll continue that, and Ellen, of course, as well, on an ongoing basis as we go into the fall. I just did want to emphasize 2 things. One is that well, maybe more than 2 things. One is that in coming here a few weeks ago, it does strike me the commitment and the support that the town has given to Beecher Road School. I know it's a community school. I know it's a school that services everybody. And I just want to say that I appreciate already the support that you folks have had and the camaraderie and the collaboration with the recent project, the financing of that, the support of that, as well as the support of the programs that we enjoy here, as well as the staffing. I know that's a tremendous commitment on your part as a Board of Finance. I also want to just say that I'm committed to the same ideals that preceded me, advocating for the highest quality education, but having the utmost respect for the taxpayer and being sensitive to the economic environment. So just want you to know that. Kind of moving from there, I just wanted to just again, in reviewing the year that we just left, I know that the Board of Finance was apprised all along the year about the deficit we were running because of unanticipated special education costs. You probably remember that we were up as far as $405,000 in deficit through a lot of careful analysis and savings through retirements, medical coverage changes that were taking place, and there's been certainly some electricity savings and savings with Magna tuitions. The board was able to reduce that down to $114,000 in change, and I know a letter has been drafted to Tony to that end. So that's where we ended up, went from 405 to 114, which is good news. It's not good news it's a deficit, but it's better news than it was probably in the middle of the spring. As we move forward into the current fiscal year, we are again anticipating a few special education placements that were not part of the picture when the budget was drafted last year, so we're watching that very closely. We're only 21 days into the new fiscal year, so it's too early to really get too detailed about this, but we do have unanticipated costs in the same area as we did last year going forward into this year, so we will be keeping finance closely apprised of that as we move forward. It's great to be here, and it's great to meet all of you, and if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them, and thank you for putting me on the agenda tonight.
Thank you. Everybody welcomes you, and we look forward to working with you. And good luck as you go through the summer.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is we have We're 100% covered by superintendents tonight. We have Superintendent Chuck Dumais from Amity who wants to talk to us about an Amity bond proposal that is forthcoming.
Thank you, Matt. In lieu of a projected presentation, I printed it out for you and we'll walk through some of the steps. This presentation is the same one that was given to the Amity Board of Education and the Amity Finance Committee. So an important piece is that I think should preface the conversation is that no decisions on the bond have been made by the Amity Board of Education. So the purpose of this meeting is informational. There's no decision to be made tonight, but I wanted you to see the presentation that the Finance Committee has seen, as well as the Board of Education, and understand the elements of the process. So the same as we've done in the budgeting process, we wanted to get out early and share this communication. There are two pieces to this presentation. One is about the referendum schedule and referendum process, and the second is about the bond process. Please note that we made an assumption in planning the bond process that the referendum passes. It doesn't make much sense to plan the bond piece unless the referendum does pass. So I'll just say that when we talk about the referendum piece, it's planning, and that's the assumption in the bond piece. If you go to the first slide, we are currently in July, and July isn't on this, but it appears a little bit later. The AFC, the Amity Finance Committee, will hear about the bond, the proposal. They've already heard about it in the August meeting. All the projects that we're going to describe a little later in the presentation have been discussed and vetted by the Facilities Committee. Just to give you a little bit of insight into that, the list was actually a little bit larger. Two of the items that were on the original recommendation for the bond were pulled out. All of these projects are capital improvement projects that shouldn't be part of an operating budget, and that in the past, when they were part of an operating budget, are those classic items that get pushed off one more year or pushed off one more year. The items that are in here, when we did have a retro commissioning report for all the HVAC at the Woodbridge facility, and what we found is that all the HVAC elements that are in here that I'll present have exceeded their planned lifetime already. So I'll go ahead and go through the schedule, and then I'll give you a little idea of what the projects are. August, present to the AFC. Allow that discussion there, go to the Board of Ed for approval in the September meeting, and schedule a public hearing. In actually November, the explanatory text in the referendum, that actually spans November and December. Understanding that the national election is in November, and that there are a certain number of weeks that each of the towns needs to keep their machines sequestered until they can be used again, we've actually moved the date into December. Assuming that the referendum passes, on page 3 with the bond schedule, December and January we would prepare the official statement. February is ratings review and the actual bond sale, with the intent of receiving the funds in March so that we could issue purchase orders and the work could begin when school closes out in June. More detailed information on the process. I'm looking at the slide that has a big August 2016 on the left-hand side. Summer, superintendent presents here, and that's exactly what's happening now. We move to the August meeting. The Finance Committee will discuss the items for the bond. Again, they've all been vetted by the Facilities Committee, and they will have the opportunity to take action to recommend that to the board. In September, the Board of Ed will meet to recommend the appropriation and authorize the borrowing, and we will schedule a public hearing tentatively now for September 26th. The following day, notice to all town clerks calling for the referendum would be distributed. I'm on the November 2016 slide now that has red text on it. Our original dates are the ones that are crossed out, November 1, November 9, and November 15. They've been pushed back because of the national election. The dates that precede the referendum are set by statute in terms of our requirement to communicate with the community. moving the referendum back a number of weeks does not impact the issuing of purchase orders and getting the work done in the summer. Now we transition to hopefully the bond referendum passes, and I'm on slide 7, December, January, that discusses the actual bond process. The district would engage in conversation with the bond council, set up a finance schedule, update the official statement, and then finally in January distribute the draft of the official statement. February of 2017, legal notices, rating calls, project bids posted, and the distribution of the official statement, getting ready for hopefully by the 1st of March, the actual bond sale. March 2017, we would present all the contracts over $35,000 to the AFC. AFC would hopefully recommend those to the Board of Education. The Board of Education would approve those contracts. The following day, the district would actually receive the bond proceeds, and we would follow that up by issuing purchase orders to vendors. Again, the intent is to have the work done in the summer session after school ends. The next item is the projects. The first project listed is the air handler at the high school. And one of the issues that somebody brought up at one of the other town meetings was, well, didn't we just renovate the schools? Renovations to the schools were not complete. So if I'm not mistaken, this unit that we're talking about is over 45 years old. I think it's 47 years old. Well exceeded its planned life already. And it would be replaced at a cost of $313,000. The second item, air handlers, A-wing classrooms and kitchen at a cost of $400,000, another unit that has exceeded its planned lifetime. The next item is a VAV box. That's a variable air volume box. In the original design of the high school, room 164 would have been a computer classroom. The computer classroom would have had a number of units that required additional air conditioning and increased airflow. It makes it quite uncomfortable when those machines are not in there, and schools have moved away from a large number of computer labs, and this is actually a classroom. So it needs to be converted back to a classroom in terms of its airflow. $14,000. Consumer science room at the high school. Consumer science is culinary. And the pictures are in here, and of course in a large-scale presentation you can probably get some more detail out of there. I'll point a couple of things out as far as why the consumer science room is being redone. The current items that are in there are certainly not commercial grade, and one of the things you can easily see from this is there are no hoods over any of the stove units. So those are some of the things that would be put in there in addition to new cabinetry, appliances, and ventilation. The Woodbridge campus has an extremely high water table, necessitating frequent repairs and regular repairs to the parking lots. You'll notice that there at the top it says phase 1. This would not be a complete replacement of the parking lots, it would be a portion of the parking lots. We have tried very hard to plan out 3 to 5 years in all of the work that we do, and one of those pieces would include the capital improvement plan. So phase 2 for the parking lots is actually another 3 years out beyond this bond in terms of our plan. The tennis courts. There have been some comments that, well, the tennis courts look pretty good. You can't tell from the pictures, even though they're the red arrows. But if you were to imagine a toupee loosely attached and a strong wind blowing it up and then having it fall down, when it's down it looks good. When it's up, it's pretty obvious that it's a patch. And there are patches on top of patches on the tennis court. We pay approximately $30,000 to $45,000 a year in maintenance on the tennis courts. This $400,000 replacement would come with a 10-year guarantee. essentially the cost of doing the repairs.
How many courts?
I think it's 8 courts. Is it 8 courts? I believe it's 8. HVAC upgrades at the Bethany campus, $190,000. Before we get to the last page, I'll tell you 2 of the items that were removed from here. One of the small gyms at the high school is currently not climate controlled in terms of air conditioning, and that was one of the items that was decided would be removed from this bidding this bonding process. The second item that was removed was we made a recommendation for external storage, a small outbuilding that would allow us to store dry goods that are currently in the hallways at the high school and consolidate a number of the temporary containers that are found on campus. That was another piece that was cut out of this and moved as a possibility to the next bond. If you take a look at the last page, which is headed Estimated Principal, the total of those projects is almost $1.9 million. The asterisk you'll see indicates that that does include engineering and design of almost $72,000. We recently took the $72,000 out and had that approved now to be put aside for the engineering and design. If it's not done ahead of the bond, the bid proposals will not be prepared in time in order for the projects to be done at the summer. It's typical to include a 10% contingency, that's $187,000. Estimated cost of issuance of approximately $84,000. Gives a total bond amount of $2.07 million. One of the other questions that I've received a couple of times is the status of a turf field. So a turf field came up in discussions years ago, I know, and was considered and not approved. There is no turf field that's associated with this bond. The turf field is in the bond that's would be 3 years after this one. And we have made a promise that we will not consider a turf field until the federal government has completed its study on the health implications of rubberized turf. So, any questions?
I just wonder, the numbers in here, are they based on some kind of estimates?
Absolutely. So all the HVAC, any of the actual work like the tennis courts, we had estimates. All the HVAC items are part of the retro commissioning report that was done by Van Zelms, where not only did they come up with an estimate for the engineering cost and the construction cost on each of those projects, but they also gave us a priority order of how they would perform the work. So the facilities committee considered not just the cost, but the priority order of the work in making their decision.
The other question I had is on the parking lot. Is that reclaiming, in other words, digging up all the old asphalt, or is it just top coating it, do you know?
I believe that there would be some resurfacing included. They would be tearing up some of that asphalt.
Any questions?
If you do have questions, you still have plenty of time and opportunity, whether it be through me or through Matt, to ask them, and I would encourage you to. So,
Okay, thanks for the info.
thank you very much.
Hold on one second.
I actually have a question. On the asphalt repair, we do that out of our operating budget because we do it regularly every year. Is this, you said it's frequent and regular repairs. Did you consider including that in operational budget, or is that you do a big project less frequently?
We do a big project less frequently. Yeah. We currently do include asphalt. We do pieces of asphalt annually as they come up.
And one other question, I think I know the answer. In terms of the percentage payment by Woodbridge, how this is distributed, that's based on this current year's allocation of costs. Is that correct, or is it the following year?
Probably the following year, I'd say.
It would be based on the year in which we incurred the debt.
The year as we pay back the debt service, it becomes part of the budget. So
That's true.
every year.
Change every year.
Oh, so it's each year.
That's
Okay,
true.
thank
Change
you.
every year.
Thank you.
And I apologize. Terry Loomis, you know who Terry Loomis is, but Terry Loomis is now the Director of Finance and Administration for Amity.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Have a
thanks, Matt. Thanks,
Good rest of the
Al.
summer.
That obligation affects us.
600,000
$600,000.
20 years.
Over 20 years.
It's not that much, it's small.
Actually encourages them to add other things, and that's a small bond issue.
Small, yeah.
If you add to it, probably the issuance cost would go up.
All right.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Next is the administrative officer's report. Tony?
Thank you, Matt. The first is status of the FY16 budget. The result here is a surplus of about $600,000. Keep in mind that we have a $400,000 contribution from fund balance, but that still leaves us several $100,000 that we will be adding to our fund balance this year. And I'm hoping for a few more adjustments to make that a little higher, but that leaves our fund balance percentage at a little under 10.5, a little under 10.5, 10.4 and a half. So as you can see, we're doing well there. It goes to show that as the year goes on, we have some conservative estimates in our budget, which I'll go through, and how that impacts the contribution from fund balance. The first is in intergovernmental revenues, and at the previous months we had anticipated a surplus here, but we have a $75,000 final reimbursement from the old project in '96 that's due to us. Under the old project, we were reimbursed our grant money as we paid debt service. So after 20 years, then you're given your grant money each year. That changed in about 2000 or so, because the state found out that figured out that we were borrowing for the money and they were borrowing for the money. So instead, we get the grant money as we construct the project. In any event, we have a $75,000 reimbursement due us, but the state is delayed in their processing due to staff reduction. So I'm not sure when we're going to see this. So we'll record it as a revenue when we receive it. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Secondly, department revenues. That's pretty close to budget. We have some that are higher, that are surpluses, conveyance taxes, rec fees, recreation fees did well this year. Building permits also did well. But we have deficits in the pool, as you know, and our SRO funding. Finally, our surplus in private duty. We had a lot of private duty work this year, a little under $100,000. On expenses, you'll see a common theme here throughout some of these departments. For instance, in the Board of Selectmen, there's a $17,000 surplus, primarily due to a vacant position that we had for a portion of the year until that was filled. General administration surplus, $36,000 due to savings, property, auto, and liability insurance. The center building, we had a milder winter than we had budgeted for, and so we had savings there in both gas and electricity. Police department, that savings in gas and electricity utilities also is in public works. You'll see there's a savings there. In police department, there's a surplus because we had, again, vacant positions. The chief's position was one of them, the main position. A couple other highlights here that we've discussed before. Waste management, our tonnage was lower than we had budgeted for, so savings of about $45,000 there. And then the vacant position savings rolls into the benefits area, which also saves in benefit costs, about $30,000 there. And debt service is due to refunding, we saved $18,000 in debt service. So you can see that throughout the year, as things happen, it tends to create some surpluses as we're careful and conservative with our budgeting, and with our forecasting and our tracking, and which is why, unless there's an extraordinarily unusual revenue circumstance, or we have something that we specifically allocate fund balance for, typically the $400,000 amount is typically something that works for our budget, which is why it's never commented on during any of our rating presentations.
Tony, just to clarify what you started with, I'd word it differently. as I've stated before, at the town meeting, we obtain approval of the town meeting to, if necessary, use $400,000 of our fund balance to balance the budget.
Correct.
Okay. So I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, we put 593,674 in, take 400 out.
Right.
I don't look at it that way.
Right.
The way I look at it is, we really didn't have to take anything out of the fund balance because we have a close to a $600,000 surplus. So that covers the 400. We don't have to take that out of fund
Correct.
balance. And in fact, we're going to add 200,000 to fund balance,
Correct.
which is going to. So again, the thought that we're spending money we don't have, if I can quote the quote, it really doesn't apply here. In essence, and this is every year. I think there were a couple of years we've talked about
Right.
where interest rates.
It's usually a revenue issue
Yeah,
that
it's-
happens
it's-
that we
right,
can't
exactly.
that we can't predict.
Exactly. So in essence, another year goes by, and another year we don't have to tap the fund balance for $400,000 because, as you said, due to conservative budgeting.
And we keep tight controls on our expenses.
Right. Everything passes through you.
Right.
Nothing is spent without you. So,
Right.
so in essence, and our fund balance is a very healthy 10.44%,
Right.
which was reiterated by the bond rating agency, which you're going to go into. I
So I'm going to
hope.
get into, yeah.
Okay, so another good year, another successful year, and again, when you have good budgets and responsible budgets, and you have responsible people looking over these budgets, these are the kind of results you can expect. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Status of the audit.
The,
Any questions? Any questions on the audit? Okay, status of the 16 audit.
The auditors just finished their field work last week, so everything went well. They did the testing of all of our invoices and payroll and payables and all that stuff. So they'll probably be out back in October to finish.
Okay, Woodbridge Board of Ed financial report. Sandy's not with us tonight, but it looks, as they said, they ended with $114,000.
Bob mentioned a little about that, yeah.
They ended with $114,000, which I think there's a funding request in to cover that.
There is, yep.
Okay. Which again, when you consider that they were back in maybe November, December, talking about $400,000 plus, they did a good job of covering it with excesses. So.
One thing just to highlight on the audit, in your package you'll see there's a communication from the auditors which just indicates the process, the approach to auditing and the controls that they look into and timing of the audit. So.
Okay. All right. Note and bond sale update.
So, as was just mentioned earlier, we just went through our own note and bond sale process, in which we did a lot of the same things. We had an official statement and went through a bond sale, and basically we had three different sales that we conducted. They're sort of one after the other. There were two note sales and one bond sale. So in advance of the note sales and the bond sale, we did a rating review, and that was from Moody's, and they reaffirmed our AAA rating as we've had in the past. And some of our credit strengths is stable residential tax base with substantial wealth and income levels, strong financial management, including a fund balance policy, and manageable debt position, which is sort of an important one. As they reviewed, we have a manageable debt position. So it's manageable. It's not based on all the projects that we've done. We've been able to time them appropriately so that we're able to do two major projects in a few years and still have a manageable debt position. So I sort of just wanted to mention that. So Moody's reaffirmed our AAA, so I did just go through some of the analysis here in the report of our credit opinion. It's similar to the one we discussed back in April, I think it was. Very similar. So the first note sale, the way it's constructed is for the Beecher project, we had issued $5 million in bonds last year, and so we had outstanding after that the remainder of the project, which was 13, so about $8 million. And so we issued another $4.5 million in bonds this recently, and we certainly happened to hit the market just at the right time, and the interest rate is 1.9%, which according to our bond counsel, he's been doing this for maybe 30 to 40 years. It's the lowest 20-year general obligation interest rate that he can remember in his 30 years. So it's good for us. It's bad for the investors, of course. So it's basically it's a sealed bid process, and you have people, firms bid, and then they take the lowest one. So that was that. Then we had a note sale of, so if you follow the math, we did $5 million plus that's $9.5 million. The rest of the 13 million is in notes and or grants. So we hold open the rest of the funding until we resolve the state of Connecticut grant process. We've received $1.6 million so far, and our budget's about $3 million. So next year we'll have that resolved, and then we'll borrow the difference. So right now we're at $9.5 million. So that was the 0.69% was the interest rate on that. And then lastly is the Country Club of Woodbridge. This is a taxable issue because the possibility exists that the property will be sold for or used for a taxable purpose. And so those are generally higher because the interest you earn is you have to pay taxes on it. So that rate was a net interest cost of 1.07%. So you can see it's about double the tax exempt rate. So that's $56,000 in interest. Last year we paid about $25,000. So you see that market's a lot more volatile in the taxable market, in the taxable area. So that's why it's very important when we resolve this country club. This is a factor as to how we're going to finance the remainder of the debt and what the purpose is. If we have any additional debt or not. So these are 1-year notes.
Okay, so again, our financing is in good shape and in good hands. So
Yep.
thank you again.
Okay.
Sounds like you know what you're talking about tonight.
Been through it enough times.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on that? That's good news for Amity because obviously
Good time to borrow.
their rating
Yeah.
and their bond issue is based upon the 3 towns. So
Yeah.
we cut our part of the deal. Hopefully ours is definitely there too. All right, funding requests. The first funding request, I mentioned to Ellen and Tony. This has to do with a traffic study for the Woodbridge Village Associates, which was pulled off the table. So I kind of suggested that we just don't vote on this.
That's fine. Yep.
We'll just leave this. If they've spent any money, we can deal with it however we can deal with it. But
Okay.
there's no sense in transferring $3,300. Next is a contingency request for the fire department, and it's a request for funding 1516-24 in the amount of $50,000. I think some of this we had kind of
We've
hadn't
reviewed a
put
lot
in
of
the
this
budget.
before. Yeah.
We said we'd deal with it at the end of the year. So
Correct.
For now, I'll move acceptance of request for funding 1516-24 in the amount of $50,000. I don't know if there's any questions. There's a lot of repairs, I guess, that, like I said, some of this he had requested earlier in the year. And and we said, it's too early in the year.
It was maybe 30 in the 30s, 35.
And then we had a major breakdown of what change it is.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's make sure we sign this. And next is, again, we talked about this. This is the funding for the special ed, unanticipated special ed costs. And we're taking this money out of the money Amity returned to us.
Correct.
So it's a line item transfer, which is a good use of that money. So I'll move acceptance of line item transfer 1516-25 in the amount of $114,000. Any questions on this? And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Put these in here. All right, approval of minutes. I think we've got our regular monthly meeting here. Let's get to that. This is minutes. These are the minutes of our monthly meeting on June 16th. And I'll move acceptance of the minutes of June 16th, 2016 as presented.
Second.
Any corrections, adjustments, suggestions, etc.?
I'll abstain.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And Karen abstains. All righty. Ellen?
Thank you, Matt. I'd like to address a couple of major issues before I tell you some of the activities of the last month. And the first is, I think it's so important that we all take a moment to recognize our police officers and our police department here in Woodbridge. It's been such a tumultuous time nationally, and I ask everyone to think of our police officers who put themselves in the line of duty for us every day. I've sent a note to the chief and the police department. If, with your indulgence, short, I'll just read that to you. Dear Chief Capiello and members of the Woodbridge Police Department, I am writing on behalf of our town to express our appreciation for all you do for us each and every day. The violent episodes that we have seen across the nation serve to highlight and focus our attention on the demands and risks of your job. We are grateful for the excellence and professionalism you demonstrate in protecting our residents. We are fortunate that you have chosen Woodbridge as your professional home. I think we all agree that we're very fortunate to have the police department that we have, so I want to thank them. Secondly, we are having a public informational meeting with respect to proposals for the Country Club of Woodbridge. It's this coming Wednesday, July 27th at 6:30 p.m. We had an updated proposal from Toll Brothers that came in just a couple of weeks ago, and then a new proposal from an entity called Redan Reserve LLC. And there is a postcard in the mail going to every household. It takes a little while to get these out in the mail, but they should be in everybody's mailbox tomorrow or the next day to remind people to come to this important informational meeting. And again, it's just Wednesday, July 27th at 6:30 in the Center Gym. And I do want to also, I've distributed to all of you here on the Board of Finance a terrific chart that Tony put together comparing different proposals. It's on our town website and easily accessible there, and I encourage people to take a look at that before the meeting to understand better what is before us. Also, I wanted to mention that there had been scheduled a DOT meeting about the plans for the tunnel. You know, the tunnel at exit 59 has to be repaired over the next few years, and that meeting has been delayed probably till September, and the new date will be coming out. I just wanted to make sure people knew that.
I'm going to wait after they open 7-Eleven.
Yeah, right. I know, Andy. For people, I've been noticing people wandering around on the green here looking at their phones, and it turns out we're a Pokemon Go site here in Woodbridge. I'm not 100% sure what that means.
I saw Karen out there before she was walking around out there. I said, wait, right here, walk around. So we go, she's looking for Pokemon.
We've had people of all ages.
I'm looking for anything.
So with your indulgence, I'll just quickly run through other activities from the last month. And the first is to again emphasize the sound fiscal stewardship of our town and to thank Tony and the Board of Finance. Not only did we have the AAA bond rating, but we did receive again the GFOA Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting, which is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and Tony is particularly commended in the award. So Tony, thank you again. I attended the 8th grade promotion at Bethany Middle School, the Amity High School graduation, and the Beecher Road School graduation. And of course, welcome again to our new superintendent, Bob Gilbert. At the police department, I attended the swearing-in ceremony of 3 officers who were promoted to sergeant, and we also have a new officer who has joined us from Orange. I attended events for departing staff, a dinner for Lee Canning, a farewell picnic for William Rosario, and Dr. Stella's retiring after 10 years. There was a recognition dinner the month before, but we also had a picnic here on the green for families, for children and parents to recognize Dr. Stella. On the economic development front, I've continued local business promotion with a visit this month to Crest Motors, a family-owned business known for its excellent customer service. And we've met with the DOT teams. We have 3 DOT-related projects going on, and I want to say each of the 3 teams has been very impressive in their diligence and attention to what's going on in Woodbridge. One is the interim project that we've talked about before, which is a smaller project that will hopefully provide some relief. The second is the interchange at exit 59, and the third is the tunnel project. And I've been encouraging the 3 teams to talk to each other, which they now say they are. The concerts on the green have been going very well. They're very well attended and very popular as always. I also attended the Rotary installation dinner for Chris Lovejoy, who's this year's president. Congratulations to Chris. And I met with Paul DeCosta, who has an idea about a notable tree project for Woodbridge. And I think that'll be very, very valuable and meaningful to our town residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, liaison reports. Amity does not meet in July, so I don't have a report. Paul, do you have anything?
Yeah, just to get some detail around the $50,000 we spent. We have engine 3 and engine 6 having major work. I think, in fact, engine 3 is a drive shaft problem and so on and so forth. Many of these trucks are old, and that's really where this expense is coming from. Also, there is the possibility that we may be able to acquire a used ladder truck. The chief is looking into that. There aren't any details around it yet. It's possible. Something might develop there. It's basically what I got.
Karen? Andrew?
Well, most of the meeting was, they had a swearing in reception for these new officers. That took up most of the time in the meeting. It was very short, it was adjourned, it was very brief. So that was the highlight of the meeting, swearing of these 3 officers, and a reception was held for them. Took up most of it.
Okay.
So that was very quick.
Is there anything else?
Thank you, Tony, for the continued work you do and letting us be the award winner. I take, we take a lot of credit for pride in Woodbridge. That's because of you, so thank you for letting us all shine.
It's true.
Okay.
And Matt,
No, it's Tony.
the great captain.
I just take the picture. That one. I mean, although that award means nothing, so don't worry about it.
Make it clear that
That's
you're
all right.
being sarcastic.
I'm being very sarcastic.
It's a very
Being very
important award.
sarcastic. It's a wonderful award, and it recognizes the terrific work Tony does in the presentation of our budget, which I believe is an excellent document. So, and it's due recognition. So.
What we don't talk about, though, is really how well this town is managed. We never blow our horn about it. From a financial point of view, this town is very, very well managed.
Well, I'm glad you said that. To build on that the financial is only part of the job Tony does. And all those departments that run well, that are financially managed, is in large part also due to Tony's operational, the bar is really high here. It is so impressive because you have such a quiet, unassuming demeanor that you just like fall under the radar, but everything runs well. And that person under the radar is really making everything seem so seamless. It's quite impressive, and the finance is only a portion of all you do. So
Thanks.
for all of that,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll
Is that enough, Tony?
That's good. I'm good.
You're gonna relax before you drive home.
And we didn't even touch on the singing and dancing.
I think based on all that, Tony's taking a 2-week vacation.
I will move adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye.
We normally don't have a meeting in August unless something crazy happens.